and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a snowy Tuesday here in the upper Midwest. In the NFC North Country, snowing to beat cats and dogs right here in Madison, Wisconsin, right here at Devil Radio, where we originate. So if you're listening locally, be careful out there on the roads. I was on the Beltline, came back from lunch. It's moving at like 35 miles per hour. So, if you're going home slow, well, if you're going home, you will go home slow. But if you, anticipate a commute that you're hoping to make quick, it ain't going to happen. So a lot of words to say, drive slow. It's snowy out there. Welcome to the big show. Got Evan on the board today. Evan, welcome. And we can always have you join us right here on the big show at 844-967-2789. I'll get to the lead in just a moment. We now have more details of the coup, the January 6th coup. And we have the details because Peter Navarro, a former aide to the Trump administration, well, he published a book and he laid it out. These people, not so smart. The incriminating stuff you should leave out of the book, Peter. Just one man's thought. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. And also, I want you, our audience, I want you thinking hard, long and hard about this. Who are the scoundrels of 2021? Getting near the end of the year. Doing a retrospective, if you will. Who are the scoundrels, the D-bags, if you will, of 2021? Going to play along a little bit later in this hour. So, get your thoughts prepared, get your scoundrels in mind, and don't be afraid to call or text at 844-967-2789. And I got a shout out going out to our pals listening in Minneapolis, KTNF 950 AM. Shout out Chicagoland as well, WCPT 820 AM. Got our friends listening in Northern California. Let me think for a second. What is it? KGOE 1480 AM and now 92.7 FM. We love that 92.7. And of course, our friends Devil Radio, WADR in Janesville, Wisconsin as well, all across the great Devil Radio Network. Well, we now have some insight on the Trump coup, on the perspective coup, the January 6th coup. And we have new reporting because Peter Navarro, a Trump advisor, well, he kind of laid out the plan. He wrote a book about it, and the book has been published. And now there is reporting on the book specifically coming from the Daily Beast. So I wanted to start here today. And it's kind of got an NFC Central flair to it, this news story. Just hang tight just for a moment. You'll see where I'm going here, you Vikings fan, you Bears fans, and of course, the Packers fans. A former Trump White House official said he and right-wing provocateur Steve Bannon were actually behind the last-ditch coordinated effort by rogue Republicans in Congress to halt certification of the 2020 election results and keep President Donald Trump in power earlier this year in a plan dubbed the Green Bay Sweep. The Packers sweep, Paul Hornick to the right. You'll take note of the fact they didn't call it the Viking sweep, and they certainly didn't call it the Bears sweep. But here's more. In his recently published memoir, Peter Navarro, then President Donald Trump's trade advisor, details how he stayed in close contact with Bannon as they put the Green Bay sweep in motion with help from members of Congress loyal to the cause. I mean, we're talking about a hell of a lot of Republicans here as well. But in an interview last week with the Daily Beast, Navarro shed additional light on his role in the operation and their coordination with politicians like Rep. Paul Gosar, Republican from Arizona, and Senator Ted Cruz. How could he not be involved? Here's a quote. We spent a lot of time lining up over 100 congressmen, including some senators. This is the coup plan, folks. It started out perfectly at 1 p.m. Gosar and Cruz did exactly what was expected of them. Navarro told the Daily Beast it was a perfect plan, and it all predicated on peace and calm on the Capitol Hill. We didn't even need any protesters because we had over 100 congressmen committed to it. Did you hear that? They didn't want the Capitol insurrection. They had their own coup planned. I read on from the reporting at the Daily Beast. That commitment appeared as Congress was certifying the 2020 Electoral College votes reflected that Joe Biden beat Donald Trump. Senator Ted Cruz signed off on Gosar's official objection to counting Arizona's electoral ballots, an effort that's supported by dozens of other Trump loyalists. Staffers for Cruz and Gosar didn't respond to requests for comment. Shocker. There's no public indication whether the January 6th committee has sought testimony or documents from Cruz or Gosar, but the committee has only recently begun to seek evidence from fellow members of Congress who were involved in the general effort to keep Trump in the White House, such as Reps Jim Jordan, Republican from Ohio, and Rep Scott Perry, Republican from Pennsylvania. This last-minute maneuvering never had any chance of actually decertifying the election results on its own, a point that Navarro quickly acknowledges. But their hope was to run the clock as long as possible to increase public pressure on then VP Mike Pence to send the Electoral College back to 6 contested states. Oh, wonder which 6 states they might contest. Well, we know Arizona was one of them. And I suspect Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, you think they're in there? Because they wanted Republican-led legislatures to try and overturn the results. And in their mind, ramping up pressure on Pence would require media coverage. While most reported news organizations refused to regurgitate unproven conspiracy theories about widespread election fraud, this plan hoped to force journalists to cover allegations by creating a historic delay to the certification process. So they're going to steal the headlines. They're going to take control and force we, the American people, to, eat a big crap sandwich of their conspiracy theories. Here is the quote. The Green Bay sweep was very well thought out. It was designed to get us 24 hours of televised hearings, but we thought that we could bypass the corporate media by getting this stuff televised. Navarro's part in this ploy was to provide the raw materials, he said in an interview on Thursday. That came in the form of a 3-part White House report he put together during his final weeks in the Trump administration, with volume titles like The Immaculate Deception and The Art of the Steal. Oh, so clever, Navarro. My role was to provide the receipts for the 100 congressmen or so who would make their cases, who could rely in part on the body of evidence I'd collected, he told the Daily Beast, to lay the legal predicate for the actions to be taken. Ultimately, states have not found any evidence of electoral fraud above the norm, which is exceedingly small. Did you hear in Georgia today? They found some dead voters that had cast absentee ballots, and they had been counted, 4 of them. Numerically, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 dead voters cast votes. Probably before they died, I assume. But they died before the election. Those votes should have been invalidated. Well, Trump needed 11,870-ish, 780 maybe it was. Remember, kind of made a big deal out of that. I don't think those 4 votes cast the lot to Joe Biden in Georgia. But anyways, back to the coup, back to the Green Bay sweep. The next phase of the plan was up to Bannon. Navarro describes in his memoir, In Trump Time. Here's a quote. In Steve Bannon's role was to figure out how to use this information, what he called receipts, to overturn the election result. That's how Steve had come up with the Green Bay sweep idea, he wrote. So Navarro was basically blaming the coup on Steve Bannon. Bannon came up with the plan. It was a great plan. Green Bay sweep plan. More quotes. The political and legal beauty of the strategy was this. By law, both the House of Representatives and the Senate must spend up to 2 hours of debate per state on each requested challenge. For the 6 battleground states, that would add up to as many as 24 hours of nationally televised hearings across 2 chambers of Congress. In the book, he also notes that Bannon was the first person he communicated with when he woke up on January 6th, writing, I checked my messages and I'm pleased to see Steve Bannon has us fully ready to implement our Green Bay sweep on Capitol Hill. Call the play, run the play. What would Vince Lombardi say? Blocking and tackling, in this case, of Capitol police officers. And perhaps, the quarterback, Mike Pence, wanted to sack that guy or hang him or something. Navarro told the Daily Beast he felt fortunate that someone canceled his scheduled appearance to speak to Trump supporters that morning at the Ellipse, a park south of the White House that would serve as the staging area before the violent assault on the U.S. Capitol building. It was better for me to spend that morning working on the Green Bay sweep. The planned coup, the forced takeover of the U.S. media, the failure to execute the peaceful transition of power. That was his part. So the distraction of going and giving a speech over where the more violent insurrection was going on, well, that wasn't in the cards, not for Peter Navarro. Just checking to see that everything was in line. The congressmen were on board, he said during the interview. It was a pretty mellow morning for me. I was convinced everything was set in place. Later that day, Bannon made several references to the football-themed strategy on his daily podcast, The War Room Pandemic. One more quote. We are right on the cusp of victory, Bannon said on the show. It is quite simple. Play's been called. Mike Pence, run the play. Take the football. Take the handoff from the quarterback. You've got guards in front of you. You've got big, strong people in front of you. Just do your duty. Why would they besmirch my beloved Green Bay Packers by naming their insurrectionist coup after us? I mean, Tampa Bay, baby. Hell, Brady's the quarterback over there. 844-967-2789. Happy Tuesday, Devil style.
Social media? You've kept up with the times. If you can do that, you can definitely save for retirement. Go to aceyourretirement.org and in just 3 minutes, you'll get free tips to help boost your retirement savings. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids, thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
What grows in the forest? Our imagination and our family bonds. The forest is closer than you think. Find a forest near you at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Hi, Don from Wisco Home Goods here. Jeremy and I handcraft our 100% non-toxic candles from locally sourced materials in our Madison, Wisconsin facility. Wisco Home Goods candles come in a variety of unique blends and scents that you're sure to love. Add a little warmth to your home as the days get colder with one of our Midnight Cypress or Up North candles. Order at wiscohomegoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing candles and more at wiscohomegoods.com.
The devil's advocates may not agree on much, but funny is funny.
How many times must we take this disgrace? Another Bears fan throwing insults in our face. The Packers are the greatest team to ever play the game, even if from time to time they've been a little lame.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. A little Sports Talk Live going on here. But this is not of Crudy's creation. This is the creation of the MAGA world. The coup d'etat that they had planned on January 6th. Well, Peter Navarro wrote a book. He was the Trump advisor. Supposed to be some sort of a financial guy, I thought. But apparently he also dabbled in a little coup. And they had like 100 Congress people on board, including U.S. senators. And I suspect that means entirely Republicans. What do you folks think? So anyways, they had this big plan at the U.S. Capitol, January 6th. And they wanted, Mike Pence to be a participant in the plan coup. And the plan was basically challenge the electoral outcome in all the swing states that Donald Trump lost, that he would have needed to win the Electoral College. And they called this plan the Green Bay Sweep. They put my beloved franchise in their mouth and they besmirched it with this sort of a crap coup plan. The Daily Beast reporting. Now, Navarro did not just a book about this coup. Navarro did interviews with the Daily Beast. And I'm reading from the reporting, sort of the collaboration between what is revealed in the book and the further confessions of Navarro through his interview with the Daily Beast. Now, as his publicist, I might sort of love this kind of press, but as his legal defense, I don't know that I would have recommended Peter Navarro write this book or do this interview. Let me share a little bit more. The Green Bay Sweep was their code name for the coup. And Peter Navarro claims, at least in this book, that this was the brainchild of, former meth addict Steve Bannon. And it was the Green Bay Sweep, and they called the play and they expected to run the play. And the play was to steal the media's attention, fail to peacefully transfer power, fail to certify the Electoral College vote, and basically litigate these claims of voter fraud on national television across the two chambers in these 2-hour hearings as they failed to, certify the Electoral College vote. So we pick it up from here. The idea was weeks in the making. Although Navarro told the Daily Beast he doesn't remember when Brother Bannon came up with the plan, he said it started taking shape on Trump's Stop the Steal legal challenges to election results in Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. When they fizzled out, courts wouldn't side with Trump thanks to what Navarro describes in his book. And here's a quote: as the highly counterproductive antics of Sidney Powell and her Kraken lawsuits. So instead, they came up with the never before seen scheme through the legislative branch. Navarro starts off his book's chapter with the strategy by mentioning how Stephen K. Bannon, myself, and President Donald J. Trump were the last 3 people on God's good earth who'd want to see violence erupt on the Capitol Hill as it would disrupt their plans. That's what Navarro is now claiming. Very revisionist, I suspect. When asked if Trump, let's not forget, Navarro did interviews with the Daily Beast. When asked if Trump himself was involved in the strategy, Navarro said, I never spoke directly to him about it, but he was certainly on board with the strategy. Just listen to his speech that day. He'd been briefed on the law and how Mike Pence had the authority to it. Indeed, Trump legal advisor John Eastman had penned a memo first revealed by journalist Robert Costa and Bob Woodward in their book Peril, outlining how Trump could stage a coup. And Trump clearly referenced the plan during his January 6th speech when he said, and here's a quote from the former, I hope Mike is going to do the right thing. I hope so. All the vice president has to do is send it back to the states to recertify, and we become president, and you are the happiest people. Trump specifically said that. That's a quote. When Pence certified the Electoral College votes instead, he became what Navarro's book described as the Brutus, most responsible for the final betrayal of President Trump. Et tu, Brute. Although the bipartisan House committee investigating the violence on January 6th has demanded testimony and records from dozens of Trump allies and rally organizers believed to be involved in the attack on the nation's democracy, Navarro said he hasn't heard from them yet. The committee did not respond to other questions about whether it intends to dig into Navarro's activities. And while he has text messages, phone calls, and memos that could show how closely an active White House official was involved in the effort to keep Trump in power, he says investigators won't find anything that shows the Green Bay sweep plans involve violence. Instead, Navarro said the investigative committee would find that the mob's attack on the U.S. Capitol building actually foiled their plans because it incentivized Pence and other Republicans to follow through with the certification. They don't want any part of me. I exonerate Trump and Bannon, he said. That's what Navarro now claims. I exonerate Trump and Bannon because we had a different coup plan. I'm not sure if exonerate means what you think it means, Mr. Navarro. The committee is, however, engaged in a bitter battle with Bannon. The former Trump White House strategist refused to show up for a deposition or turn over documents and is now being prosecuted by the Justice Department. Navarro said he's still surprised that people at the Trump rally turned violent, given the impression he got when he went to see them in person during the exercise run that morning. I'm telling you, man, it was just so peaceful. I saw no anger, none, zero. And so ends the article here at the Daily Beast. Something about confession. Peter Navarro, I don't think you're supposed to express the clueless plan, the coup plan in book form and then do a follow-up interview with the Daily Beast. But love the fact that we can share this newfound reporting with you, our fair audience. Even you Bears fans, just listen close. Stick along. Come back with us. The Green Bay sweep. Well, it's going to work Sunday night against the Vikings. But apparently the name of the coup attempt, it was not successful. You know, much like the Packers lost the NFC Championship game and once again broke yours truly heart last year. Come back, more Devils. You could be next. 844-967-2789.
This is the radio station you were looking for. Devil Radio 92.7. It surrounds us. It penetrates us. It binds the world together.
Help me, Devil Radio. You're my only hope.
Gifting season is upon us, and here's an opportunity to spread the holiday joy. Ethical Trading Company is fighting to end human trafficking in the poorest areas of the world by providing a marketplace for artisans who've been freed from modern-day slavery or avoid being trafficked through this partnership. As a volunteer-ran nonprofit, every dollar spent in our physical or online store makes an impact in ridding the world of exploitation and in the lives of our artisans to perform dignified work. Check out our wide range of fair trade gifts by going to ethicaltradeco.com. Again, that's ethicaltradeco.com.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates, and he would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at P4People.
Virus update. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished mixed. The Dow up 95 points. New numbers from the government show the Omicron variant is accounting for a growing amount of coronavirus infections. Here's the AP, Shelley Adler.
Updated data from the CDC says Omicron accounted for 59% of new cases in the country for the week ending December 25th. That's up from 23% the week before. The CDC had mistakenly said last week that Omicron already accounted for a majority of new cases in the country, but the agency now says it significantly lowered that previous estimate based on additional data it collected. The rapid spread comes after the first confirmed case of Omicron in the U.S. was identified earlier this month. Studies have provided early hints that the latest variant is milder than Delta. I'm Shelley Adler.
California is the first state to record 5 million coronavirus cases. I'm Ed Donahue.
You're always up for some fun with the family, so you order the essentials, a new board game, some baking supplies, and even a new projector for outdoor movie night. And with a Bank of America customized Cash Rewards credit card, you can choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase to up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member. Rewards which you can put toward an extra treat that everyone will enjoy, like an old-fashioned popcorn machine. Visit bankofamerica.com/more rewarding and apply now. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation.
Yes, Miss Tubbs. No problem. I'll call someone about the plumbing.
One of Beatrice's properties needs a new superintendent.
The custodial team is not
Someone with handyman superpowers and a concierge alter ego.
Does anyone know any good electricians near Parkville?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. According to an interview with the Cap Times, Governor Tony Evers stated recently that he still believes he can find common ground with the Republican-led legislature in 2022, the final year of his first term as the governor of Wisconsin. In the interview, Evers said he is looking at areas such as broadband access, fixing the roads, and lowering taxes for Wisconsinites as places the state government could potentially find common ground. Another topic that Governor Evers said Wisconsinites could see action on next year is reform for the state's bail system after the tragedy at the Waukesha Christmas Parade. South Central Wisconsin will be in a winter weather advisory today until midnight. 3 to 5 inches of snow is expected with winds up to 15 miles an hour today and a high of 34 degrees. Cloudy skies with most of the snowfall expected this evening and an overnight low of 20 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a snowy Tuesday edition, at least here in the upper Midwest, here in Madison, Wisconsin, the Devil Radio home. Local police departments reporting many accidents with injuries out there on the road. So take it easy, be slow, be safe. We're seeing reports of snow on the roads all the way to Waukesha, which is about an hour east of here. So again, most of southern Wisconsin covered with snow right now. Drive slow, keep the Devil's Advocates locked, and we'll get you home safe. 844-967-2789. Started today with Tales of the Green Bay Sweep, the name of the coup plan, apparently now immortalized in a book by Peter Navarro. Why would he do that? And then he did further follow-up interviews with the Daily Beast to further reinforce the fact, well, he's got the exonerating evidence. Well, Trump didn't want the violence. Bannon didn't want the violence. Navarro certainly didn't want the violence. They had their own coup attempt, the Green Bay Sweep. They had 100 Congress people down for this fight. And the fight was supposed to happen on national TV over 24 hours. 844-967-2789. What say you, our fair audience? Beagle calling from Lowell. Welcome, Beagle. What do you got for us?
Well, hi. You caught me with a mouthful of Christmas cookies. I'd like to repeat. Well, you were talking about conspiracy, right? It's important to remember that a big part of conspiracy is piracy. Some wear tinfoil hats, some wear tinfoil blinders. Who's foiled? I'd like to report something or to read something that I wrote 45 years ago that I still think applies.
Make it quick, Beagle.
Never underestimate the power of American indignation or how slow it is to kindle. Never underestimate the power of American indignation or how slow it is to kindle.
Perhaps somewhat profound words. Appreciate your call. 844-967-2789. You can be a part of this big program if you choose to call us. Please have a hot take when you know it's your turn up on the lines. You know where I want to go to next, Evan? And I told you this, I warned you this as you came on. And I do appreciate you joining me here on the airwaves today. I need a fine producer like yourself. I want to talk about the scoundrels of 2021. And I'd like to, get some audience participation in this little game. I think we should, do something special here. Sort of a retrospective, get near the end of the year. Other people do their year-end shows. Let's call it the Scoundrel of the Year Tuesday edition. Something of that sort. It doesn't have to be official. But the official part is I want your nominations. I want to know who you, our fair audience, thinks the biggest, let's call it political scoundrels. Although, if you think someone outside of politics qualifies, certainly nominate them. 844-967-2789. 844-967-2789. And if you'd asked me, maybe a month ago, who's the scoundrel of the year? I would have had to consider nominating Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, 100%. Totally. I hadn't even thought of it.
I'm immunized. Aaron Rodgers cost the Packers probably, you never know how a game would have played out differently with a different player in the lineup. But we lost the game probably because our MVP level quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, wasn't vaccinated. So does that make him a scoundrel or just sort of a selfish guy?
And that doesn't make him a scoundrel in of itself. It's the public facing comments. It's the hedging and trying to sort of barricade himself in this little world against the woke mob. That's the part where it's like, oh, give me a break, millionaire TV man.
I take it you're not looking for a discount double check?
Apparently not.
I actually, despite I actually like me some Aaron Rodgers. And perhaps it's his MVP level play and the fact he continues to lead my team to victories. Sorry, Vikings fans, it's going to happen again this Sunday night. But Aaron Rodgers, sort of a scoundrelish sort of guy, didn't have to act that way, chose to act that way, perhaps being a little selfish. Aren't we all a little selfish, though? We are. And he potentially could have affected some of his teammates, some of their families, but ultimately they're all adults and probably relatively healthy. And I know that's some of the rationale. I'm a healthy guy and I'm immunized. I walk a lot and I took my vitamin C pill. So, I don't need a vaccine. So I find him to, be a little scoundrelly in that regard. But all things considered, if we win the Super Bowl, it's all forgiven.
That's right.
Just win, baby. I'm like Al Davis here. 844-967-2789. And, the obvious, the 800-pound orange grill in the room. Maybe 350. Donald Trump.
Almost too easy.
But, as a scoundrel, I see him as a greatly diminished scoundrel, perhaps. Although I did point out, I did see Trump in Des Moines, Iowa, back in October. Seems like a long time ago because now there's snow on the ground. It was beautiful that night. But Donald Trump got like 40,000 people in Des Moines, Iowa on a Saturday night, and they were playing football in Iowa City, like an hour down the road. Big Iowa home game. Sellout stadium. And yet they still had this massive crowd in Des Moines. And Trump didn't seem diminished that day. And he seemed very scoundrelly that day. And I think the lack of prosecution of Donald Trump, the lack of any sort of ramification for this January 6th coup, call it the Green Bay sweep, the official one, the planned one, according to Peter Navarro, or the unofficial one, the insurrectionist one, which Trump also inspired. I mean, we also heard the speech. You can't throw in and keep her peaceful out there at the end and pretend like you're not somehow complicit. But Donald Trump, as a scoundrel of the year, well, I think that might be over-aggrandizing the man. I don't know if he is still worthy of scoundrel of the year. I'm not sure if he merits scoundrel of the year. But I'd love to hear from you. 967-2789. My early considerations. Aaron Rodgers for his, double talk on vaccines and getting immunized and, losing a game and perhaps jeopardizing home field advantage because I care a lot about my Packers. So, I throw him kind of sort of in the mix. And then there's Donald Trump, although he seems a little too obvious and he does seem diminished. Is he diminished? I think he is. I think he's less than he used to be. He's still a scoundrel. He's still a grifter. He'd still take your money and your grandma's, rob her blind. But I don't know that he has the same power to affect the outcomes. That part he is diminished. So anyways, Donald Trump, let's put him on the back burner for now. Love to hear from you though. 844-967-2789, 844-967-2789. Looks like we got someone with a lot to say. Rob from Prairie du Sac. Welcome, Rob. What do you got for us?
Hey, it's Slammer. How you doing there, Mike?
Good. Who is it?
Good. Well, yeah, I wanted to give you guys not so much a scoop, but have somebody contact the sheriff's office. I do advocacy in the jail, and I've got like 4 calls in the last 24 hours about a COVID outbreak. And apparently the protocols changed when they went from Mahoney to Barrett.
So you're talking about Dane County jails here in Madison, Wisconsin.
Correct. Yes. And these, the guests are absolutely upset with what's going on. There's segregation is not happening. I mean, guys are getting sick, like in pandemic proportions. So yeah, it's a problem.
It is. And Slammer, what are you hopeful that people do about this?
Well, I sent an email to the sheriff's office and to Troy Anger, the regional chief at the DCC. And obviously they better get on it, because if this shit's spreading, they definitely have to be attending to it. And I haven't received any comment back.
Appreciate your call. 844-967-2789, 844-967-2789. Keep us on the right side of the FCC, if you would there, my friend. 844-967-2789. We got a dump button, so don't try it. Don't play coy with us. We know what you're doing. Anyways, I suspect that was a slip. The scoundrels of 2021, don't be on that list. Don't drop and slip and say something that's going to get me in trouble right here on the radio show, or I'll cut your butt off. Scoundrels, Evan, I've wondered, and you've got different perspective than I am. A little bit older than you, a little bit chubbier, a little bit more depressed in life, beyond my prime here.
Sure.
But Evan, if you had to characterize a scoundrel in the world, who would that be?
Ronald Marie Johnson.
Marie, is that really his middle name?
I don't think so. No, but that's okay. Really taking it to new limits this year.
Ron Johnson.
Yeah. Rojo, as they say. With his promise to sort of pass the torch to a new generation. I think we all knew where that was going. To hear him go back on that, because he's running again.
Yes.
I think it's all but
I strongly suspect he will.
Yep. So that's
Ron
a big
Johnson
point.
Was on this show and has been coming on the show about 7 years.
Yeah.
And Ron did make a pledge like 6 years ago, last elective cycle, when he came on the show and said he would not run beyond a second term. That was his re-elective campaign. That was his second term. Now, I mean, Republicans, and Ron Johnson especially, has earned the label of far worse than hypocrite or liar. But you think he's a worthy top of the heap, sort of a scoundrel?
100%. 100%. He took that insurrection on January 6th. I don't know, is that coup 2.0 if the sweep is 1.0? And his characterizations of that are just sort of next level degeneracy, Oh, if it were Black Lives Matter.
They were so positive.
Yeah. And just, it was all lovey, hugging, high-fiving cops. It's despicable. It's gaslighting.
I think he's done more scoundrelly things than his blind support for Donald Trump or his minimization of the insurrectionist coup, the domestic terrorism that happened at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. I think the ivermectin, I think the hydroxychloroquine, I think the willingness to basically put his own constituents and anyone that would take his and heed his advice, put them in harm's way. I mean, really, he has become the guy, Ron Johnson, the senator from the state of Wisconsin, running for re-election. We strongly suspect he has become a kook, and beyond being a kook, he is a kook that had the power of the gavel. He had the power of a Senate subcommittee, and he was holding hearings in 2021 to try and come up with, alternative medications, alternative remedies, and not the good kind, not the FDA suggests that we should consider this. Oh no, not that kind of remedy. More so take some horse paste, try some drugs, take them all, except the vaccine, of course. I am so unclear why these people are so willing to be, experiments. Hell, we've got some new news. Have you heard the latest? I'm talking to you, Evan. Have you heard the latest, the latest remedy?
I don't know.
It will turn your skin blue.
No, yes, colloidal silver. Oh, goodness gracious. People,
and there's a guy that treated himself, a former Republican congressman. This freaking guy looks like Papa Smurf.
And it's permanent. That isn't going away.
It doesn't go away. He is like a giant. Did you ever see Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory? I think Veruca Salt.
Veruca Salt. Yeah.
She eats the everlasting gobstopper, I think it is, just selfishly takes it and chews it up and turns into a purple grape.
Don't eat silver. Don't eat silver, please.
You will turn blue. You will look like Papa Smurf. Come back. More Devil's Advocates, more home remedies. Brought to you by MAGA World.
Did I get it?
Should I wait?
Is it safe?
It's okay to have questions about COVID-19 vaccines. Now get the facts. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when COVID-19 vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Spruce up your home with non-toxic vegan candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents that make a perfect holiday gift. Plus, at Wisco Home Goods, we believe in giving back. With our Do Good, Smell Good campaign, a portion of the proceeds go to local charities. So support a Midwestern company that supports our local communities. Order now at wiscohomegoods.com.
63 Americans a day die by gun suicide. By storing our guns safely, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo, we can give our loved ones a second chance at life. Learn more at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstead of the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I'm excited to announce our new beer, AOC IPA. This IPA pays homage to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a champion of the progressive movement. AOC IPA is now available in stores throughout Wisconsin. Check our website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to see which stores in your area are carrying it.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Smurf theme song. Well, MAGA World, they've got a new home remedy that will turn you Smurf blue. And we are taking your nominations for Scoundrel of 2021. Lisa Joe did text out at Devil Radio. You can always tweet at us. Every day you hold this contest. My vote for Scoundrel of the Year is Wisconsin Assembly Speaker Robin Vos. Every freaking day and twice on Sundays.
I respect it. I respect it.
Lisa Joe, we've got you down for Speaker Robin Vos, who is also the guy that hired the special prosecutor guy, Michael Gableman. I think Gableman should be in consideration for the scoundrel of the year. We'll talk more about him perhaps going into the next hour. We'll take your nominations at 844-967-2789. Give you a toll-free 844-96-PARTY. But there ain't no party like a Smurf party. Candice Owens, she is this Trumpster lady, this black woman. Well, she tells her fans to take a quack cure that turns skin blue. Colloidal silver. I had not heard of this.
It's literally just silver suspended in solution. I mean, it's it's rough. That's rough.
Well, let me read a little of this and then I'll tell you a little story, audience. 844-967-2789. Your scoundrel of the year nominees taken here. Right-wing personality Candice Owens is urging her fans to consume a quack medical cure known for turning user skin blue. Papa Smurf style. In an Instagram video posted on Thursday, Owens praised the use of colloidal silver as a daily supplement, a treatment that comes with no valid medical use and plenty of health risks. Yes, colloidal silver, Owens says in the video. I take colloidal silver every single day. I love colloidal silver. This is a great one. This is another one that people probably know nothing about. Well, guilty. I knew nothing about colloidal silver until your strong recommendation. While Owens and others praise the preventative use of colloidal silver as a way to stave off illness, colloidal silver has no valid medical purpose and plenty of potential dangers. In extreme cases, according to the Mayo Clinic, colloidal silver can cause seizure or organ problems. Owens didn't respond to a request for comment. Why doesn't right-wing commentators, why don't they ever respond to media requests? I guess they've got their own pipeline to their audience. But colloidal silver's most famous side effect is I'll spell it for you folks because I'm not great with pronunciation. ARGYRIA. ARGYRIA. A condition that turns user skin a bluish gray color, usually permanently. Despite these risks, colloidal silver has sometimes been embraced by political outsiders, including some libertarians seeking treatments for a variety of illnesses outside the medical system. Montana libertarian politician Stan Jones, for example, turned his skin blue by consuming colloidal silver. How blue, you might ask? I looked this guy up. I looked up Stan Jones. Do yourself a favor. It's worth a Google. Google Stan Jones from Montana, and then prepare to be a little shocked by the tone of this guy's skin. He is literally blue, the color blue, like purplish blue, like he's choking to death. But that's the way he looks in normal life. Anyways, go Google him. It's worth a Google. Stan Jones. I did. I was struck by just how blue this man looks. Owens laid out her colloidal silver regimen in a follow-up Instagram comment to a fan asking for more information about colloidal silver, claiming she takes a teaspoon a day to keep Papa Smurf away and more when I'm sick, in a post first highlighted by liberal activist William Legate. As little as 1 teaspoon of silver a day could be enough to cause ARGYRIA, argyria, depending on the concentration of the silver solution. According to medical research, a 56-year-old man who took a teaspoon every day for allergy and cold medication noticed that his fingernails were turning blue, kind of like that Stan guy. A little bit more. Owens isn't the only far-right figure to endorse silver as a fringe medical cure. In 2020, the FDA warned InfoWars chief Alex Jones to stop promising that silver toothpaste and other silver products sold on his website could prevent or treat coronavirus. Oh, Alex. So you get the point. Owens' pro-colloidal silver video come days after the disastrous interview where Owens, who works for conservative commentator Ben Shapiro's The Daily Wire, interviewed former President Donald Trump. Do you see this interview, Evan? Owens interviewed Trump. Okay. And Trump said, he had been boosted. In fact, I'll read a little bit more from this article. In a surprise move, Trump rebuffed Owens' criticism of coronavirus vaccines, praising the vaccines' results as very good. In the same video in which he praised colloidal silver, Owens downplayed Trump's support for the vaccines, claiming Trump is too old. Did you get that? Trump's too old to read anti-vaccine information on the internet. She also attacked vaccinations more broadly, claiming, among other things, there's real evil behind tetanus shots. You ever had lockjaw? I've had lockjaw. I lost like 35 pounds in the summer. I mean, literally, your jaw is locked. It's like, Donald Trump Jr. on a cocaine bender.
Yep.
You cannot move your jaw, and you cannot eat solid foods. And, fortunately, I was a healthy guy. I survived just fine. Let's get to the phones. 844-967-2789. Your nominations for Scoundrel of the Year. We'll keep this one open into hour 2. But Wisco Paul, what's up, my friend?
Hi, Michael. Sounds like you had a good time in the city. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
Nice-
Bright Lights,
nice
big city.
said that. Yeah, right. Well, I'm going to say the woodpecker look-alike, because he is a pecker. Robin Vos, hands down, has constantly went against the will of the Wisconsin public. I can't think of one thing he's on the right side of, other than he's right wing. He's just terrible.
Well, he's on the right cheek of Donald Trump's ass. Let's not forget that Robin Vos flew down to Alabama, right, to go kiss Trump's ass. And he has been updating his constituents, telling them that he's giving Trump frequent updates on the investigation of Gableman, the pursuit of the rigged votes here in the state of Wisconsin. Wisco, it's an ongoing, let's call it Green Bay sweep that Robin Vos is involved with, and he's still attached to Donald Trump at the ass.
It's a sad state of affairs that Robin Vos is basically running the state of Wisconsin, Crudy. It's very sad. But, hey, have a happy new year if I don't get to talk to you before then.
Come on, man. I got a couple more days of live shows. You better be listening, Wisco Paul. Come back with us. We got Batman joining me tomorrow. He's the vigilante of good governance. We got you on the phones in hour 2, 844-967-2789. More nominees for Scoundrel of 2021. Robin Vos, you've been a popular nominee.
At Chaz Design Build, our tagline is building a better world, one remodeled home at a time. Simply stated, we want to be a part of the solution to leave the world better than we found it. That's why we've invested in a 20 kilowatt solar array, which provides over 90% of our electrical demand at our shop, office, and design studio. And that's why we invest in local causes which provide opportunities and which confront structural inequality. At Chad's Design Build, we are proud to partner with you, building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
Knucklehead CBD and Vapes isn't just Wisconsin's go-to destination for the best deals from Milwaukee to Madison. It's also your one-stop shop to wrap up your holiday shopping this giving season. Whether it's for family, friends, neighbors, work gift exchanges, or for yourself, Knuckleheads has the perfect stocking stuffer and tree treasures for you and your wallet. There's buy one, get one, 25% off all CBD and Wellness Plus. Buy 2 cigars, get the third free, 25% off apparel, and so much more. And get a free stocking stuffer with any purchase over $50. Knuckleheads, 520 State Street in Madison.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. The CDC's move to shorten its recommended coronavirus isolation and quarantine periods is causing confusion and criticism. The AP's Sagar Magani has the story.
The agency has cut the recommended isolation time for infected but asymptomatic Americans from 10 to 5 days, while letting them leave isolation without being tested. It similarly shortened the quarantine period for those in close contact with an infected person. CDC officials say the guidance is in line with growing evidence that the infected are most infectious in the first few days, but it also also comes with the CDC under pressure to shorten isolation times from both the public and private sectors, which warn of widespread staffing issues if workers have to stay home. One doctor says letting those in isolation return to regular activities without testing is reckless. Sagar Magani, Washington.
California is the first state to record 5 million coronavirus cases. Near Denver, David Davenport describes it as a chaotic scene.
I just heard all the gunshots go off, heard like 10 go off. Then after that, just clacked off about 30 of them saying like, heard all the cop cars running down the street.
Police are investigating after 4 people were shot and killed near Denver in a local business district. The suspect also died after exchanging gunfire with police. A district attorney near New York says former Governor Andrew Cuomo will not face criminal charges from allegations of unwanted kissing by 2 women. One of them was a state trooper assigned to Cuomo's detail. The DA says there was evidence to conclude the conduct the women described did occur, but it did not merit charges. They claimed they were expressing their First Amendment right to free speech, but a federal judge refused to throw out an indictment charging 4 alleged members of the far-right Proud Boys with conspiring to attack the Capitol almost a year ago. Wall Street stocks finished mixed. This is AP News.
You're always up for some fun with the family, so you order the essentials, a new board game, some baking supplies, and even a new projector for outdoor movie night. And with the Bank of America customized Cash Rewards credit card, you can choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase to up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member. Rewards which you can put toward an extra treat that everyone will enjoy, like an old-fashioned popcorn machine. Visit bankofamerica.com/more rewarding and apply now. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation.
Yes, Ms. Tubbs. No problem. I'll call someone about the plumbing.
One of Beatrice's properties needs a new superintendent.
The custodial team is not
Someone with handyman superpowers and a concierge alter ego.
Does anyone know any good electricians near Parkville?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Time you will know the true power of Devil Radio 92.7. It is your destiny.
Wisconsin, you know that Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are champions on the court, but did you know they're also champions for our community?
Hey, Wisconsinites, Drew Holiday here.
And Brooke Lopez here.
I love being a champion.
And today I'm asking you to be a champion citizen.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote.
It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote.
They're worried about our power, so they want to take it away.
Don't let them do that.
You've got to block that shot.
Paid for by the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
Hey, this is Rocker, and I'm back on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies on East Wash. I'm having a brand new cocktail you just have to try. It's called Divide and Concord. It features Rocker vodka along with Concord grape, thyme, St. Elizabeth's dram, and a touch of lemon lime. Ask for it by name, Divide and Concord, at Salvatore's Tomato Pies. Find Rocker vodka and Rocker rye whiskey at Vic Pierce on Sherman Avenue. Please drink responsibly.
Quality CBD is your Madison cannabis experience destination. Different than the head shops, Quality CBD is gallery quality art, ambiance, and a Bella bar experience that's second to none. Enjoy kombucha and a Bella glass full of vaporized, legal Delta 8 cannabis. Slow down, relax, and enjoy the experience. Only at Quality CBD, 1222 Williamson Street. Come for the Quality CBD, stay for the experience. Quality CBD, 1222 Willie Street.
You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 and WTTN 1580 AM. That's pretty cool.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. This week, Governor Tony Evers stated he will fight proposed constitutional amendments in Wisconsin that would shift election responsibilities away from the current system with the Wisconsin Elections Commission. Recently, Republican lawmakers have floated ideas of increasing the election powers of the Wisconsin Secretary of State or giving the legislature the authority to run elections, both proposals Evers promised to fight. More teachers in Wisconsin are opting for retirement during the COVID-19 pandemic, leading to school districts across Wisconsin being more in a bind when it comes to a teacher shortage that existed before the pandemic. Governor Tony Evers will give his State of the State address from the Wisconsin State Capitol on February 15th, 2022, after going virtual last year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a snowy Tuesday afternoon right here in Madison, Wisconsin. Be careful out there on the roads. Take her slow. And we are taking your nominations for the most, what do we call this person? What was the term I've been using?
Scoundrel, yes.
The biggest scoundrel of 2021. I assume probably political, although Aaron Rodgers, I nominated Aaron for his vaccine double talk. We've gotten one on Twitter, a couple on the text line. What do we got there on the text line?
Let's see. We got the guy flying the F Joe Biden flag across from the high school in Watertown. And we've got Tucker Carlson for his disparaging comments of Americans in Hungary.
And that's our boy Tony from Portland sending that one in, right?
That's right.
Word up, Tony. Thanks for listening. 844-967-2789. We'll take more of your scoundrel nominees. But a headline to start the hour quickly. I just want to throw it out there, then back to the phones. You remember the blonde realtor lady, Jenna Ryan, Capitol insurrectionist, the one that wasn't going to prison because she was
private jet.
Took the private jet. Well, guess what? She's in prison. Sort of a heartwarming Christmas story. Let me tell a little of it. And then on to the phones at 844-967-2789, taking your nominees for Scoundrel of the Year. Perhaps Capitol writer Jenna Ryan should be considered, the Texas real estate agent who once said she wouldn't serve time in prison because she's white and blonde, reportedly has begun her 60-day sentence. The 51-year-old Ryan, who was sentenced last month for her role in the January 6th insurrection, was initially scheduled to report to prison in January. However, the Dallas Observer reported Tuesday that Ryan checked in to the Bryan, and it's spelled Fancy Bryan style, Bryan, Fancy Bryan federal prison camp in Texas before Christmas. Daniel Weiss, a Florida-based prison consultant, said he believes Ryan, who recently announced a book deal, may have strategically surrendered early, the Observer reported. Here's their quote. I have to imagine that there's a motive behind this, and your motive is probably this. You want to go in there, now you can write in your book that you know what it was like to be in prison for Christmas. Weiss said on his YouTube channel, I mean, I think people are going to see right through this, the smoke screen. I don't think you're going to get a lot of sympathy. Well, here's what she's hoping to do in prison. A little detail on, the anticipated trip. Another prison consultant, Holly Kuhlman, said Ryan recently contacted her to ask whether she should choose to be housed in solitary confinement due to concerns that she might get hit with a lock and a sock.
Did you say prison consultant?
Yeah, a prison consultant. Who was the guy? The little guy.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't even
from
know
the
that.
Get Hard movie.
Yeah, that's a
Will
thing.
Ferrell hires the guy to teach him how to get ready for prison.
I need more money. Ooh.
Well, or less time in prison. But Ryan eventually decided that she'd be just fine in general population, claiming she knows how to make friends with anyone. I used to think that. Coolman says, Ryan goes, I grew up in the streets. She said, laughing, according to the Observer. Regardless, Ryan has big plans for her time in prison and videos posted to her TikTok account, because isn't that what all the prisoners use to communicate, their TikTok accounts? She claimed to look forward to doing lots of yoga. She also said it would be worth going to prison if she manages to lose 30 pounds, thanks to a new workout regimen and diet free from alcohol and junk food. She's doing a lot of caboozling and a lot of junk food if she thinks she's going to lose 30 pounds in 2 months in prison. Well, she might running around the yard hiding, protecting her ass.
She's dropping a brand new record in this spring. Get that street cred.
Here's one more quote. With her doing what she's doing, they're going to look at that and they're going to make her time hard because they're going to give her a reality check. And she's not going to lose weight. She's going to probably gain weight because of how they cook everything in there with starches and all that. I don't think she realizes what she's about to walk into. Merry Christmas. Hope you're enjoying your time in prison, Fancy Brian style. Jenna Ryan, prisoner number 6712372. Let's get to the phones. Our number, 844-967-2789. Joe from Madison. Welcome back, Joe. Happy holidays.
You just can't even keep up. This woman that you're speaking of, has she never seen Orange is the New Black? She needs to do a little TV watching before she starts.
Invest in the Netflix. Skip the prison consultant and go to Netflix.
Exactly. Well, I'd like to chime in on the scoundrel competition that you have going.
Oh, please do, Joe.
Okay. The first is, I would like to say that I have two nominees, and I'm hoping that there's a scoundrel number one, but that runner-up categories exist so that I can, put votes in both categories. The first I would say is I need you to hearken back to that story that you said at the head of the first hour, the one about these absolute traitorous people within Congress who were, number one, seeking to overthrow the government, but number two, seeking to describe their efforts as the Green Bay Sweep. To take our name and to use it in such a terrible way is so scoundrel-ish that there's very little that can compete with it, except for, and I would go with Evan on this, Senator Johnson is a very strong runner-up, and I would say that when he was describing the people at the Capitol who were seeking to overthrow our democracy as, quote, people who love this country and they truly respect law enforcement. Now, I don't know if that was they respected law enforcement when they were beating officers senseless with the American flags or throwing the doors or throwing rocks at them, that sort of thing. It's hard to know exactly when they were respecting law enforcement. But I don't know, Green Bay Sweep and then Senator Johnson, it's hard to say which is worse.
Well, Joe,
you're going to have to call it.
You're not going to have to differentiate because if you think your way through this, I am very convinced that Ron Johnson was a participant in the Green Bay Sweep. Sort of a wide receiver blocking downfield, if you will. Ron Johnson had every intention of challenging the outcome of the Electoral College vote, despite the fact that we had accurately counted votes in the state of Wisconsin. We'd had a recount, and Ron wanted to be a part. He was enumerated, I strongly suspect, in Peter Navarro's 100 Congress people and U.S. senators that were actual anticipated participants in the Green Bay Sweep. I think Rojo is probably blocking downfield on that one. He could be the scoundrel of the year for more than one reason.
Oh, God, I'm glad you elucidated this, but I definitely, anybody that takes the name of the Green Bay Packers and assigns such evil to them by overthrowing our democracy, that is scoundrelous. Part 1, part 2, part 3. So that's my vote. I hope others chime in.
Joe, I appreciate your call and your listenership. If there is an evil empire in the NFL, well, it's got to be the Raiders. They sort of took pride, right? Just win, baby. 844-967-2789. Going back to the phones. Our pal PT from Milwaukee. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, PT.
Hey, Merry Christmas, Crude. How are you?
Hanging in there, man.
Good. So I'm going to stay in state here. I'm going to nominate greasy popcorn maker Robin Boss for Scoundrel of the Year.
That's his third vote. Although New descriptors in your case, greasy popcorn maker Robin Voss. I like that.
Yeah, I think he eats a little too much of it too. Anyways, the way he's characterized hospitals as, requiring that vaccine mandate and blaming the hospitals for their shortages. In the Wisconsin Hospital Association came back and said, "Boss, you are wrong. You are absolutely wrong."
I heard that very same lie being repeated on right-wing talk radio today. Fill-in host for Clay and Buck, I think Mike Perry's his name, was making the very same false assertion that there aren't enough medical personnel to treat the COVID sick because, they're forced to get the COVID vaccine and they've all left their jobs. I understand, Paul, that's like 1 to 1.5% of all medical personnel. That is a very small number. I think they got more problems with people out sick right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only that, but it's this arrogance. It's arrogance of spending taxpayer money for these farcical, elections investigations with Gableman, and lying through his teeth about whether or not he's going to fund their trip to Arizona or not, and telling that he supports felonies for the election commissioners. The guy is just awful.
Do you remember last year, Wisconsin's Governor Tony Evers, in deference to the pandemic, did not do a public State of the State address. He did a video message, and Robin Voss used the opportunity to go stand where the governor typically would give his address and gave an in-person response, just to give a middle finger to the governor.
He just he's power hungry, but he doesn't have the guts to run for governor. He just wants to sit in his throne as assembly speaker. And a lot of people hate him in the assembly. And I suspect they would support the same nomination for, scoundrel or douchebag, or both. I don't know. Anyways, that's my nomination, and enjoying the show. So
appreciate it, Paul. Well played, sir. 844-967-2789. You say scoundrel of the year. Others say douchebag of the day, of the year. We haven't played that game in a while, but they all get us to the same place. Who was the biggest political scoundrel, or pop culture, whatever your critique might be? Well, it's welcome here. Give us a call. 844-967-2789. We got a few other stories we're going to throw in this hour as well. Does anybody consider Joe Manchin? I know Evan's like, oh, Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema, too obvious. Yeah. But they have been the greatest underminers of democracy because, Republicans have been against the Build Back Better, against, reforming the electoral process. We know that. The entire party's against it. But we have two Democrats demoralizing the agenda of the Biden presidency that are undermining many of you, our fair audience members. Maybe they're the scoundrels. Come back. More devils. 844-967-2789.
If doctors, nurses, and grocery store clerks can wear a mask for 10 or 12-hour shifts, you can wear a mask for an hour or less when you go to the store. Do your part. Mask up, America.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids, thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them?
By their clothes,
their age,
the way they speak,
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Hi, Don from Wisco Home Goods here. Jeremy and I handcraft our 100% non-toxic candles from locally sourced materials in our Madison, Wisconsin facility. Wisco Home Goods candles come in a variety of unique blends and scents that you're sure to love. Add a little warmth to your home as the days get colder with one of our Midnight Cypress or Up North candles. Order at WiscoHomeGoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing candles and more at WiscoHomeGoods.com.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but the show is kind of a big deal.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Welcome back from the 420 break. And one of my favorite times of the day. Always appreciate when you join the conversation. Today, we are making the scoundrel of 2021, and your nominations, they're welcome here at 844-967-2789. Getting back to the phones momentarily. But I got a new scoundrel, and this one probably less well known to our audience, but let's make her famous. She's Arizona State Senator Wendy Rodgers, and she's associated with QAnon and lies about the 2020 presidential election. And she sent out this Christmas text, if you will. I stand with Jesus, Robert E. Lee, and the Cleveland Indians, all being canceled by satanic communists. But they can never cancel Jesus. He will have the last word. He is the word. Well, Senator Wendy Rodgers from Arizona, I would point out, what do you got against satanic communists, man? 844.
Coming in hot.
967-2789. Going back to the phones. Pizza Box Mike, welcome back. What do you got?
Well, the most violent, disgusting person that I think I've ever seen in office in Wisconsin, and a person who loves to mock the poor and the sick. And yeah, we've heard it all from me and others before. You know, from the prison labor to wearing the gear during a pandemic and telling everybody else to go out and vote when the rest of the states decided to protect their citizens. You know, just doesn't get any lower than that. And did I forget to mention? 4 weddings in 17 years. Robin Vos takes the cake.
Robin Vos, Wisconsin Assembly Speaker Robin Vos, Republican. What about Gableman, man? I can't believe Vos is getting the pile on, and the guy that he's hired to be the special investigator. I mean, this guy's supposed to be a former Supreme Court justice. How can Gableman, who's doing the will, is the lapdog effectively of Robin Vos and Donald Trump, how can he not merit consideration for Scoundrel of the Year, Michael?
He couldn't get there without the greasiness of Robin Vos. And I think actually Gableman is more like the blob on Wisconsin, which is pretty bad. But I think I can crack that guy. Time to get to his house, man.
Who, Robin Vos's house?
Nah, he's got 2 houses, but we need to just like put the pressure on Gableman and publicly humiliate him. The guy's not in the greatest health. Something could happen out of this.
You ever feel like creeping up behind Gableman, giving him a loud boo? See what happens.
I think the Vuvuzela would do it.
I have seen you play that thing proudly. Michael, thank you for joining us today. Be like Mike, 844-967-2789. Dick from Madison. Welcome, Dick. What do you got?
Well, just what Pizza Box said, the reason Gableman even is able to do what he's doing is because of Vos. So, and Vos, he's kind of like, remember when they used to rate party schools in Wisconsin? Oh, well, we can't rate professional. And that's why Vos, he's a professional douchebag. He's at the highest level. But I want to go nationally.
He has reached the pinnacle of his debaggery field?
Yes, but I'm going to go national, a little more national. He thinks he's really something too. Rand Paul. And, you know, here's a guy that I don't know. The guy is, let's face it, he's beyond anything I could imagine. If I was his neighbor, he would have got probably the same thing that his other neighbor or his real neighbor gave him.
Might have had a few more cracked ribs, Dick.
Oh my God. I mean, I would, and another guy I'm going to put in there with him is that wonderful U.S. congressman from the same state. And you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, no, I don't. Clarify, Dick.
Isn't that idiot wrestler from Ohio as well?
Well, he's from Ohio. Rand Paul's from Kentucky. Those are bordering states.
Kentucky. I'm sorry.
Glad I clarified with you, Dick.
Yes.
We'd hate to cast the scoundrel net too broadly.
It shows you how much I know about geography, but oh my God, both of them are just the most horrible people.
Well said, Dick. I got a little update on Rand Paul. You see what he said? This was an interesting statement. Rand Paul sent out a little tweet, and Rand Paul's tweet seemingly is complaining about the democratic process, the process of voting. Let me share a little of the reporting from the Daily Beast for Dick's sake and yours as well. You tell me, is Rand Paul meritorious of scoundrel label? Here's what he said. Senator Rand Paul, Republican from Kentucky, Dick, not Ohio, has accused Democrats of stealing elections by legally persuading people to vote for them. How dare they? And people have quickly pointed out to him that's simply how democracy works. Writing on Twitter, the senator quoted an article from the Washington Examiner about how Democrats carried Wisconsin in 2020 after losing to ex-President Donald Trump in 2016. Paul tweet read, how to steal an election, seeding an area heavy with potential Democratic votes with as many absentee ballots as possible, targeting and convincing potential voters to complete them in a legally valid way, and then harvesting and counting the results. I don't know if you know this, Senator Paul, but that's called voting. A little bit more. CNN's White House correspondent John Harwood then pointed out convincing potential voters to cast legal ballots is how you win elections in a democracy. Georgia State law professor Anthony Michael Christ replied, this is what we call, wait for it, voting. Rand Paul, you've been nominated. You're on the clock.
That's sinister,
You
too.
scoundrel.
We
How
joke and we
dare we
jest,
vote?
but they hate democracy for real.
I don't even think they understand democracy. Like, they feel like it's undemocratic. If Democratic voters, especially those, with the dark pigmentation, Rand, you know who you're talking about. If those heavily Democratic areas are seeded with ballots and people are given the opportunity to vote and they're persuaded to vote for the other party, well, that is literally the definition of democracy. And the fact that you're protesting it, sir, means that you don't believe that that's how democracy should work, because that's not your will in action. No, white Kentucky. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates, more of your nominees for Scoundrel of the Year 2021, 844-967-2789.
I'm so glad you're listening to Devil Radio. It makes me so happy. Boo.
We face real challenges. My name is Peter Pekarsky, and I approve this ad stating that I'm running for the U.S. Senate to replace Ron Johnson because some people see things as they are and ask why. Others dream things that could be and ask why not. Why not provide health care as a basic right? Why not have broadband all over Wisconsin? Why not end systemic racism? Why not send a real progressive to the Senate? Visit PekarskyForWisconsin.com and support this ad paid for by Pekarsky for Wisconsin.
At Knuckleheads, our knowledgeable staff knows the ins and outs of CBD. Whether you're a veteran of cannabis like the Devil Radio team or a first-time customer, the Knuckleheads team has the information to answer all your CBD questions. Never heard of a tincture? We got you covered. Looking for something to address those achy joints? We got just the thing. Stop into our new location at 520 State Street and mention Double Radio to our knowledgeable staff to get 15% off your order today. Knuckleheads, your one-stop shop for CBD in Madison.
Video. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. The family of a 14-year-old girl killed when Los Angeles police shot and killed an assault suspect inside a Burlington store last Thursday wants to see all the video and evidence. Ben Crump is one of their attorneys.
We believe that there's a video, surveillance video from the Burlington store itself as well. And so we want all the documentation, complete transparency, not just a perspective that tries to justify things. We want everything released.
Valentina Orellana Peralta was hiding in a dressing room with her mother when a shot went through the wall and killed her. Just hours before kickoff in San Diego, Holiday Bowl has been canceled. UCLA pulling out because of COVID-19 issues with the team. The Bruins were scheduled to face number 18 North Carolina State. 4 other bowl games have been canceled, and 2 others, the Sun and Gator Bowls, scramble to find replacement teams for their games. I'm Tim McGuire.
You're always up for some fun with the family, so you order the essentials, a new board game, some baking supplies, and even a new projector for outdoor movie night. And with the Bank of America customized Cash Rewards credit card, you can choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase to up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member. Rewards which you can put toward an extra treat that everyone will enjoy, like an old-fashioned popcorn machine. Visit bankofamerica.com/more rewarding and apply now. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation.
Yes, Ms. Tubbs. No problem. I'll call someone about the plumbing.
One of Beatrice's properties needs a new superintendent.
The custodial team is not
Someone with handyman superpowers and a concierge alter ego.
Does anyone know any good electricians near Parkville?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. School districts across Wisconsin are turning to local farmers to address food shortages the districts are facing due to increased prices and supply chain delays. From chicken products to vegetables, Wisconsin school districts have spent the last 2 years building relationships with local farmers to assist during times of shortage, but not all districts have the facilities to account for preparing these fresher foods. Public Health Madison and Dane County is booked through next Monday for COVID-19 testing as individuals surge to get tested after the long holiday weekend. South Central Wisconsin will be in a winter weather advisory today until midnight. 3 to 5 inches of snow is expected with winds up to 15 miles an hour today and a high of 34 degrees. Cloudy skies with most of the snowfall expected this evening and an overnight low of 20 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, a snowy Tuesday edition. Again, be very careful out there driving on the roads, especially in the Madison and southern Wisconsin area. If you're in Northern California, you know, I don't know what your weather is. But anyways, appreciate you listening anyways. We are taking nominees for Scoundrel of the Year 2021. A lot of backyard nominees for Robin Vos, the Republican speaker in the state of Wisconsin. But we've had others. We got a new one on the text line at 844-967-2789. Evan, who is the newest nominee for Scoundrel of the Year / D-Bag of the Day.
Nomination for Mitch Turtle McConnell, which I can like divide my vote. I cut a little piece off of my vote and give it to Mitch.
Dick, he is from Kentucky.
Oh.
So you got 2 Kentuckians in competition. 844-967-2789. Your nominee is considered. I have the nomination of my congressman right now for you. It's Scott Walker, the former governor of the state of Wisconsin. My congressman is Mark Pocan of the great state of Wisconsin. And Mark, gets in on something of a Twitter thread. It started with Joe Biden, and Joe Biden said this before the election: 220,000 deaths. If you heard nothing else I say tonight, hear this. Anyone who is responsible for that many deaths should not remain president of the United States. Well, that's what Joe Biden tweeted out. And then, Scott Walker got on board and piled on a little bit and basically said, well, Joe Biden, if that's the case, then why don't you resign? Specifically, he said during the campaign at Joe Biden said COVID was a federal issue. Now he tells governors it's a state issue. Look at what else he said. Maybe he should resign. That's what Scott Walker says. And then my congressman, Mark Pocan, tweets at Wanker. Okay, this is a little beyond stupid. I understand you need to feel the love of your cult leader, but please, at Scotty Wanker, you know better. Said you think your former constituents are so dumb. You know how different things would be if people like you ever stood up to Trumpster Wanker? Question mark. Maybe a little different. Wanker got crushed by Trump during the presidential campaign. 71 days.
Some tears. Yeah.
Oh, Walker burned out quick. You know, Scott Walker, at one point, Scott Walker was legitimately the front runner in the Republican nominee race for like a month. And then Donald Trump got in the race and just, as my buddy Dominic used to say, put a cigarette out on him like the end of breakfast on the sunny side up egg. So anyways, there's that thought. We're going to get to more of your nominees for Scoundrel of the Year at 844-967-2789. But here's a new headline, and this is new news, and I think you should know it in light of the fact we're nearly 1 year from the January 6th anniversary. You know, the domestic terrorism. And we learned today from Peter Navarro's new book and, you know, interviews with the Daily Beast. Peter Navarro was a Trump advisor, and he effectively tells in his book that there was a coup plan in place. And it wasn't the violent attack that came from outside the Capitol. It was a coup attempt from inside the Capitol. And they had like 100 Congress people involved and senators. And I suspect that means you, Ron Johnson, and probably Rand Paul's in on that. Ted Cruz is definitely in on that. But here's what's also been revealed. Trump allies planned a Supreme Court rally on January 6th, but the insurrection got in the way. They were going to the U.S. Supreme Court to exert further pressure directly on the court by showing up on their doorstep. Here's what's being reported. This is new news as far as I'm concerned. Another rally was planned for January 6th outside the U.S. Supreme Court by Donald Trump supporters, hoping to overturn his re-election loss. Talking Points memo obtained text messages and invoices. Somebody paid for this, which were then provided to the House Select Committee, showing a previously unreported rally for 2 p.m. that day with some of the same speakers who appeared at with Trump at the Stop the Steal rally that preceded the U.S. Capitol riot. In the end, the organizers delayed, then aborted the Supreme Court rally as the assault on the Capitol unfolded, and roads around the building were blocked. So the Capitol insurrection kept the other insurrection from coming forth to full completion. The Green Bay sweep, as Peter Navarro and apparently the MAGA World described it, well, that also included pressuring the Supreme Court directly. Here's a little additional reporting. Again, Talking Points memo reporting this today. But the picture this new information paints is of a pressure campaign directed at lawmakers by Trump-aligned activists that would continue well after the election certification was underway. The report added it included the two big D.C. rallies that had already been reported, the January 5th at Freedom Plaza and the January 6th at the Ellipse, as well as a third in that set, a rally at the Supreme Court later on the day of the insurrection. That's new news, folks. The newly revealed rally was planned by the same conservative activist, her name Amy Kremer, and her daughter, Kylie Jane Kremer of Women of America First, who were also involved in the planning of the Stop the Steal rally, according to security guards hired as subcontractors for the planned Supreme Court event. We were there freezing our butts off until after the speeches when they started the insurrection, one subcontractor told Talking Points memo. So effectively, the insurrection got in the way of the Green Bay sweep, the inside insurrection. 844-967-2789. Your nominees for Scoundrel of the Day. The voting's still open. Mark from the Sack, how you been, man? Plenty of time today, my friend.
Been okay. Got my scan on Thursday. Not looking forward to that, but let's get that out of the way. But you mentioned Rand Paul. The reason he's saying make that comment is his idol Ayn Rand actually made a comment that democracy was a form of totalitarianism and it was a bad thing, because it interfered with individual will, I guess, is what they want to Yeah, but I mean, it's hard to say who's the douchebag there. I mean, it's just, these guys are just so horrible. There's just a whole cadre of horrible. And I just heard the Green Bay sweep earlier on the dueling tangents there, that it's an indication to me that there's people here in Wisconsin that were participants in planning for the conspiracy for the coup, and as such, you participate in the planning of a crime. You are guilty. You're part of that. You intended to commit that crime. So time to roll them all in and arrest them all, and boil them in and Robin Voss's oil from his popcorn factory, and it just is
extra butter for everybody.
Extra butter for no extra butter from just Robin Voss's rancid oil, and just arrest them all, sweep them all up, and stick them all in jail, and it is just horrifying. I mean, these guys are planning to overthrow the government of the United States of America to install Donald Trump as the leader, and we cannot overlook that fact. And if Gableman is not a honest actor in this whole thing. I mean, he was, that he's not just a dispassionate auditor going in this, because from accounting, even though that was a long time ago, more than 40 years ago now, that I had those accounting classes, that part of the duty of an auditor is you're supposed to have at least the appearance of not only being not only maintain, it's got to be complete propriety, that even the appearance of impropriety is supposed to be avoided.
Mark, I have no doubt, although I never took any accounting classes, maybe why my books are always cooked. 844-967-2789. I hear that Weisselberg guy is pretty good, though. Baking the books, something like that. Here, I hope, folks, including Mark, is some encouraging news. The January 6th committee is hoping to have a report of its initial findings released by the summer. Now, let's not forget, next year is the midterms, right? And should the Republicans win back the House, I have no doubt they will end all investigations of what happened on January 6th. As we talked about today, the Green Bay sweep, well, that enumerated something like 100 Republicans. Well, if you do the math, there's only like about 250 Republicans that serve in the Congress and the Senate concurrently, something approaching, 255, 257, something like that. Well, if you've got 100 of them, you've got what, something like 40%. I'm not great at math on the radio, but it's starting to be a big number. I mean, like 40% of your entire party is in on trying to overturn the Electoral College count and trying to send it back to the states. And the one news program I watched the entire time I was on vacation, Vegas, in the hotel room, I watched Rachel Maddow one night talking about what was going on in the state of Wisconsin. And the fact that it's not often spoken about, not in contemporary times, but a year ago, we forget. In the state of Wisconsin, Republicans put forth fraudulent electors in the state of Wisconsin. They effectively were trying to usurp the actual duly elected electors that was happening at the Wisconsin state capitol, the governor of the state and others, the Democratic electors, because Joe Biden won the state of Wisconsin by every count. Well, while they were selecting the Democratic, there were Republicans creating a fraudulent paper trail claiming to be the duly elected electors, and they were sworn to vote for Donald Trump. And that's freaking fraud. That's a crime. And what our pal Rachel Maddow over on MSNBC failed to really accentuate is one of these slotted Republican fraudulent electors is on the Wisconsin Elections Commission. It's Bob Spindell. Now, Bob Spindell is the only one that was exempted on the Wisconsin Elections Commission from calls by a county sheriff to arrest them on felonious charges. And their crime, quote unquote, their crime, according to this county sheriff in Racine, is they gave bad electoral advice during a pandemic. That's their crime. And for such, they should be arrested and put in jail and convicted of felonies, all except the one guy that committed fraud. Bob Spindell. Somehow he is exempted from the calls for imprisonment and charging the one guy that actually committed a crime in this process in the state of Wisconsin. Now, Rachel Maddow didn't hammer Bob Spindell, but certainly Bob is deserving of our hammering. And I think he should be considered for Scoundrel of the Year here in the state of Wisconsin. But it goes far beyond Bob Spindell. Although he is a scoundrel, there are worse scoundrels, probably like Robin Voss and Gableman, because this attempt to overcome the electoral results in 2020, I mean, we're turning another calendar year, but they're not done fighting the last electoral results. And if a Republican, God forbid, were to win the governorship in the state of Wisconsin, let's not forget, Tony Evers on the ballot next year. Effectively, you've got Amy Loudenbach, who is a Republican, running to be Secretary of State. And you got Republicans attacking the Wisconsin Elections Commission. They got rid of the prior referees, the retired judges, the Government Accountability Board, the gold standard. Well, that gold standard panel investigated the corrupted former Republican governor, God forbid, for illegally campaigning. And for their crime, they were destroyed. They were eliminated. So we get this bipartisan, or at least, stalemated Wisconsin Elections Commission, where you got 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans, including a guy who put his name up to be a fraudulent elector. Now, 5 of the 6 are under attack, all except the guy that committed fraud. He's not under attack. But the other 5 that actually did their jobs in good faith, including the Republicans, are under attack. And here's what I would say. Not only that, but there were 15 Republicans in the state of Wisconsin that wrote a letter to Mike Pence that encouraged this activity going on. January 5th, they sent a letter. You got 10 Republicans that were slated as fraudulent electors, tried to basically perpetrate a fraud on the U.S. government. And you got a special counselor in the state of Wisconsin in the form of Michael Gableman, looks a little like Jabba the Hutt, just as partisan, just as gruesome. But the crime of trying to overturn the electoral results, the free and fair elections, that crime continues right here in the state of Wisconsin. Come back, more devils.
Is dedication?
People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike and you didn't? I just created an environment where they taught themselves and all I had to do was be there.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids, thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Spruce up your home with non-toxic vegan candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents that make a perfect holiday gift. Plus, at Wisco Home Goods, we believe in giving back. With our Do Good, Smell Good campaign, a portion of the proceeds go to local charities. So support a Midwestern company that supports our local communities. Order now at wiscohomegoods.com.
We've all felt left out. And for people who move to this country, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hi there, I'm Kirk Bankstad and I own the Monaco Brewing Company. And I also have a super PAC. We make good trouble in the North Woods of Wisconsin. You can support our efforts at the MonacoBrewingCompany.com and buy our Wogue gear like t-shirts, hoodies, and trucker hats. Enter the code RADIO and get 10% off on your next purchase. A portion of all sales support the Monaco Brewing Company Super PAC, which is dark money meant for good. That's the MonacoBrewingCompany.com.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, trying to award the Scoundrel of the Year. Robin Voss from the state of Wisconsin, currently the front runner, has got lots of nominations. Although I think there are many, many fine nominees. Hell, I threw Aaron Rodgers in the mix. We've seen Mitch McConnell nominated. We've had others. I can't believe Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene. Haven't heard those names. But I want to point out here in the great state of Wisconsin, in my backyard, I keep talking about this disgraced former Wisconsin Supreme Court justice. Well, we've got some news from him, a few days old, but I know most of you folks have been holidaying and not paying attention. So I want to update you on this topic. The Milwaukee Journal Sentinel reports former state Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman is calling on a GOP state senator to resign, her crime criticizing his review of the 2020 election. How dare she? Republican State Senator Kathleen Bernier of Lake Holly this month referred to Gableman's work as a charade and said he should wrap up his review quickly. Bernier said she would bring a concealed weapons permit with her if she went to see Gableman address a crowd because his work, and here's her quote, keeps jazzing up people who don't know what they're talking about. I think she means you, Gableman. Gableman responded to her comments Monday in an address to the Chippewa County Republican Party, Bernier's home county. I'm not here to persuade you of anything, or as a local legislator, hopefully for not too much longer, I'm not here to jazz you up. I'm here to educate you. According to a video of Gableman's speech, he noted Bernier had said she would bring her concealed carry permit with her, but added he did not believe she had any intention of shooting him. I don't think she ever implied as such, you jackass. It's just that she has been so afraid of her own constituents that she wanted to be armed. And I guess I had several reactions to that, one of which was, gee, if you're an elected official and you're so afraid of your constituents that you think you have to bring a firearm to see them, you should take a long, hard look at what you've been doing and then, frankly, resign. His comments were met with applause. Assembly Republicans this summer gave Gableman a $676,000 taxpayer-funded budget to look into last year's election. He told the Chippewa County Republican Party he may ask for more money, more of the taxpayers' money. In fair warning, I'm about to start spending more money, Gableman told the crowd. Well, why not? I heard he's also seeking a raise and more money for himself because he's working hard. Gableman's review is focused on an election that recounts court rulings and independent reviews have determined was properly called for Joe Biden. His work has been slowed by a lawsuit by Democratic Attorney General Josh Call that challenges subpoenas Gableman issued to the Wisconsin Elections Commission. After hearing 2.5 hours of arguments in the case Thursday, a judge said she would issue a ruling by mid-January. But here is the point. If Republicans were to win back the governor's office in the state of Wisconsin, they would basically kill the Wisconsin Elections Commission. I feel that in my heart and my gut. They would get rid of it. They would get rid of another administration of the election because, God forbid, a Democrat might win the next election as well. So Republicans effectively would take charge of the election apparatus. One must assume and right now the front runner is Rebecca Clayfish. If Rebecca Clayfish is the next Republican governor of the state of Wisconsin, Republicans will retain control of the legislature, the assembly. That's where Robin Voss, the Scoundrel of the Year nominee, is from. Well, he is the speaker in the assembly. And over on the Senate side, they also have a large majority, and they're locking in that lead with a brand new set of gerrymandered maps in all probability. Well, if they had a willing Republican governor in Clayfish to sign off on their new legislation, what would stop them from disempaneling or basically removing the Wisconsin Elections Commission from power and perhaps empowering the newly elected state Secretary of State, Amy Lodenbeck, who is the Republican candidate? You see how smooth that transition could be? Well, of course, you can't trust the Wisconsin Elections Commission. Our partisan investigation of that very, bipartisan panel found that you can't trust them. So we've decided we're going to get rid of them and we're going to restore the power now that there is a Republican Secretary of State for the first time in 40 years. Now that presumes a couple steps. That presumes that Rebecca Clayfish beats Tony Evers. And that presumes that if Republicans win the top of the ticket, they also win down ticket. They also win the Secretary of State's race. But at this point, I don't think that's a huge assumption. And I think that that would effectively end fair and free elections in the state of Wisconsin. Rebecca Clayfish is giving every indication that she's more than willing to sign off on the elimination of free and fair elections in the state of Wisconsin. So that's something to look forward to. I hope you vote for Tony. I hope you feel motivated in 2022 because Tony's going to need your help. A little bit more from Bernier. In response, Bernier said Gableman clearly has very thin skin. I'd have thought it's sort of corpulent and fat. I am not afraid of my constituents. I have been out and about nearly every day, she said in an email to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. I've received a great deal of support from Democrats, independents, and Republicans. She said that Gableman should not be talking publicly about his election review while it's ongoing and brushed off his claim that she should resign. He is the last person on earth who should call for anyone's resignation, she said in her email. This month, she initially said she would attend Gableman's event, but later said she decided against going because she didn't want to create a distraction. She called her comment about her concealed carry permit stupid and a verbal blunder that left her open to criticism. It was really something that popped into my head that I kind of said out loud, and it should have stayed in my head, not out of my mouth. She said in an interview before Gableman called for her to resign. In that interview, she said she remains a conservative despite her criticism of Gableman. All she's really done here, and I'm no big fan, but all she's really done, this god-awful Republican senator, is she's pointed out the decentralized nature of Wisconsin elections. We've got like 1,850 separate elections people. They're not a massive conspiracy. What is being accused could not plausibly happen. Let's finish it here. It was really something that popped into my head, and I said it kind of out loud. Well, she mentioned that. In that interview, she said she remains conservative despite her criticism of Gableman. The point is, people who need to stop putting a shadow over our elected officials, especially our presidents that were duly elected. And now, Biden was elected president. We need to move on. But unfortunately, Republicans will not allow us to move on. They continue to investigate the election. To what end? So they can destroy the election apparatus in 2022 and perhaps steal the presidential election in 2024. So scoundrel, I think it's close, but Robin Voss, you win. Gableman, you're second. Thank you all for listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Got Matt Rothschild as my co-devil in the 4:00 hour tomorrow. Please tune in right here on Devil Radio. Now stick around. Earl Ingram is next.
This is Chad Spate. Are you thinking about improving or expanding your home? At Chad's Design Build, we're committed to making your